Kailee, are you coming up? Thank you.
Hey everyone, I guess I'll take my sweater off so you can see my shirt. I know that's why we're all here. My name is Kailee Poisson, and I have sat patiently waiting for an hour and a half because I wanted to see what everyone else had to say. And I just want to make a big thank you for everyone that has shown up today, because it matters. And everyone that has had the bravery to stand up for 3.5 years makes me unbelievably proud. And it makes me proud to say that I live in Brantford. And I'm sorry, I'm just so upset right now because 45 minutes into this meeting, bulldozers were trailered onto the Aerodale property. The gate was cut and trucks went in at 5 p.m. We didn't know why. 45 minutes into this meeting, people have patiently sat and spoke and expressed their concern in a professional manner, in a passionate manner, only to be faced with that. And the audacity around that behavior with this company is inexcusable. I really don't have any words. It was expressed that this company threatened the workers on that land right now, that if they did not start today, they would be fired. So that is something that I wanted to express before I even got into what I wanted to say. Because I literally have no words for the professionalism, or really lack thereof, of this company. They have 4 other development properties in this city that they have not, to my knowledge, behave like this. But it seems as though because of the citizens and their opposition and their passion to protect this property, they are met with that level of disrespect. And really, I just want to say that maybe we should take it as a compliment in all sense, because it shows that our opposition and our determination to see this property saved is bothering them. And it is making a difference, us keeping up the fight to preserve this space. We need this space for our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids. This green space is the 4th largest green space in the entire city. And it is really one of the only ones of significance in the entire East Side. And looking at the presentation that was shown earlier, there was a slide. I think it was neighborhood criteria was the headline of it. And it showed the property. It wasn't even green anymore, but it was outlined in red. And you can see very clearly the lack of green space around that area. The next closest place is Mohawk Park. But then even then, that is the only other place in the entire east side of town that is green. And to replace it and rip it up and, trade off for a 17-acre park is not good enough. It really isn't. And even then, the 17-acre park is planned to be paved over half of it anyways. So what are we doing here? Like, who are we catering to? And who are we supposed to be listening to? This city needs to represent the citizens that live here and the people's lives that this affects need to be seen. It really does. And I'm totally going, I haven't even started on my speech just because I am so like, I don't have any words really. But did you say that there's a second speaking opportunity for people?
Yes, I'm going to give the applicants, spoken for the applicant to come answer some of the questions, and then I'll come back for a second round.
Okay, I'm just trying to see whether or not it is best if I jump into what I had written and prepared to read today, or if I should.
If you have a number of questions there, it'd be good.
Yeah,
it'd be good to put it forward now so that the developer can try and answer.
So I'll do that then, and I'll get into what I had prepared. What I want to say is that I obtained 37 documents that were outlined in all of the testing, the reports and stuff like that, that have led up to these plans, or really honestly lack thereof, because what has been announced today is that it's not even a complete plan. It's half of a plan, and site approvals are intended to be submitted at a later date. So I feel as though that really is just putting the cart before the horse, to stack on what is happening at Arrowdale as we speak right now. But I'll get into what I had originally planned to say. And it is long, but I assure you that it is on topic, and it probably expresses what a lot of people are wondering. So as I stated before, my name is Kailee Poisson. I have grown up here since I was 3 years old, and I lived on Campbell Street for 20 years, right across from Arrowdale. I'm not a golfer, but I enjoyed seeing the enjoyment that property provided during this golf season. And I also enjoyed the property as a whole through the winter season, tobogganing, snowshoeing, just rolling down the hills like any other normal kid. And it really shaped me to be the person I am today. And I would really like to see the property saved in its entirety for other kids to enjoy that and shape them as well. As we know, we're here to discuss the future of Arrowdale Municipal Golf Course, or as it's been applied through these applications, known as 282 Stanley Street. But this place is not just an address on a map. It's an inner city sanctuary that's been enjoyed and cherished by the community for generations, over 140 years to be exact, and as a refuge for local wildlife for time immemorial. The proposal being discussed today will cause irreparable harm to not only the community, but our environment as well. And I'm here to share just a sliver of what those negative impacts will be if this development proceeds. I'm hoping you listen closely as the president of Friends of Arrowdale organization, who has been at the forefront of this opposition to the alteration of this land for the last 3.5 years. I'm not only speaking for myself. I'm speaking and raising questions on behalf of all of those who have shared concern and displeasure with the disposal and development of this land, many who are here today, and it's great to see the outcome. It's about 100 people, and the thousands that are not, and many are watching at home as well, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch. In October of 2020, an article was published in The Next Home, and Kim Koppel, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Elite MD Developments, was quoted that the proposed development at Arrowdale would house 32 acres with approximately 300 plus towns and singles. The current development proposal before us is for 750 units, including high-density 6- and 8-story apartment buildings. That is a 250% increase over the original publicized intention for this land. What happened, and why was no one consulted before this, in this change before submitting their application with the city? 750 units will equate to an additional 1,500 to 4,000 people in that area. Given the proximity to the proposed 17-acre park, this proposed development will be catered to multi-person and family households. I'm going to focus my speech on the environmental impacts and questions revolving the environmental assessments and plans of this area. With regards to the reports for the Kentucky coffee trees, which are a rare at-risk species on the property, they are breeding pairs of trees, and in the maps of which these trees were located and overlaying on the development, it shows that these trees will be paved over. So my question with that is this true, or what is the intention surrounding those trees that are known to be a species at risk? It was also noted that there are a number of other wildlife species that are threatened that were seen on the property. And my question surrounding that, I can't remember the exact species, but it seems as though it was one specific species that was a reason as to why they put the private-owned public space, the POPS, in the southeast corner of the property. And I just want to try and understand if that is because this certain species was found on the property, and if that is the intention to preserve that space for that species. And if that's the case, that I would not say is a logical way to go when you are trying to preserve an endangered species, but you put a 6-story building and an 8-story building right beside it with hundreds of units and hundreds of people coming in, going out, walking around that space, sitting in probably park benches and all this stuff. It's a significant disruption to wildlife. They don't want to be around the hustle and bustle of people. And I foresee like the loss of those animals on the property, specifically because if you look at the maps that have been shared, there's no green space. There really isn't. If you look at the comparison of what is there now to what is proposed, it's inexcusable, really. And it just goes to show that there's no regard for the concerns of the people here. The other aspect of it is I know that there's a bylaw surrounding a requirement of an allowance of green space for a certain development. And I would like clarification on exactly how many acres are required by Elite MD developments to set aside for this property and preserve in this development. And if they are adhering to that, or if their intention is to provide a cash in lieu of this green space, because that is a whole other can of worms, in my opinion. So I would like that answered, hopefully tonight. The other concern that I have with the proposal is the stormwater management pond. Is the intention of this as well to be incorporated or included as a portion of this green space allowance or preservation. Because in my opinion, that is not the way to go either, because there is no pond there right now. And in my opinion, if you put in a man-made, 100% man-made pond, that's not preserving the space. Preserving the space is not touching it. And the danger of a stormwater pond in that community directly beside a park that is catered predominantly to children is a significant concern. We already know that stormwater ponds pose a significant danger of drowning for kids. It has happened time and time and time again, and it doesn't matter if there's a fence around it or how tall that fence is. If kids want to go swimming in a pond, they're gonna do it. And in my opinion, that should not even be in the plan at all. It really shouldn't. The environmental impact of a stormwater pond, the dangers to the community, the children of that being there is not going to work out. It really is not. And the level of cost to maintain something like that is astronomical. For it to be done properly is astronomical. And who's going to pay for that? Is there HOA fees with this development? Are the people that are going to live exactly on that property going to be paying for this? Or is it the citizens that live in the entire city, the West Branch, the Eagle Place, North End? Are we all going to be footing the bill for the maintenance of this stormwater pond? The concentration of chemicals from fertilizers and pesticides and the runoff from the rock salt on the streets and the sidewalks and the driveways are going to run directly into this pond. And the concentration of that is going to affect not only the groundwater, it's going to affect the surrounding green space. There's a dog park 5 meters, not even 5 meters from this intended stormwater pond. What is the effect to pets on the concentration of these chemicals in this pond? The wildlife, we're going to have, water birds flock there. What is that impact going to be? The other thing that I have to say is about the tree canopy and the mitigation of that area, because we know that there are hundreds of trees on that 32-acre property. Many of them are mature. Many of them are centuries old. Many of them are species at risk. And I would like to know, is the city's, is Elite's intention to just completely flatten and bulldoze and clear cut that entire property as a fresh and bare space to develop what they want? The impact on the carbon footprint of that is immeasurable on a space that large. As again, I've stated, it's the 4th largest green space in the city. And if it's gone, what impact does that have on the city as a whole? Because we're not talking just about the people that live across the street anymore. The city has a tree canopy of like 18%. What level of that is on Arrowdale? Those are all 50-foot, 60-foot trees. They're all mature trees that are on that property. What will that impact be? And through the maps that are being proposed, yes, sure, there's trees on there, but they're saplings. And it takes about 4 or 5, sometimes 10 of them to replace the carbon intake of a mature tree. So are they putting thousands of trees on their development in people's backyards and their front yards? There's not a whole lot of frontage on those apartment buildings or those townhouses or anything of that sort. I want to know, what is their mitigation measures for basically steamrolling all of the trees that are on there. How many are they replacing? And what ratio are they replacing them at? And are they going to be saplings that may or may not die? Are they going to be managed for how long? Is there success, like, what is the success rate of those trees surviving long term? The other side of it is the species that already live there, the wildlife that already lives there. There was an environmental assessment that was done, but there was very little mention of the animals that live there. We have a Facebook page that has been running for several years, and periodically people have posted the wildlife that they've seen on that property. And to mention just a few of them, some you may, see as normal city animals, others not. There have been coyotes, deer, families of red fox, groundhogs, squirrels, rabbits, bald eagles, turkey vultures, wild turkeys, red-tailed hawks, various other birds. And it was mentioned during the environmental assessment that there were vacant or old dens that were on the property. Well, I would like to really know who's doing these environmental assessments, because those dens would have been the red fox dens. And this environmental assessment was done in June. And the mating and rearing times of red fox are between December and April. They don't stay in those areas all year. They come back year after year. So those dens are not vacant. They might have been for 6 months, but they would be back in December, and they would be there until April. They're probably gone now again, but they come back time and time again, year after year. The only times that they abandon a den is if they feel threatened. And I can tell you, if this development proceeds, they will be threatened. And they won't have anywhere to go, because as I said in those slides, there's no other surrounding green space that compares to this. The other impact that I want to bring about is the water usage impact. And I brought up this concern in 2019 when the city was proposing selling this property. And my numbers were significantly off, and not in a good way. I significantly underestimated the level of people that were intended to be on this property. As I stated before, we're looking at upwards of 4,000 people right now with this plan, maybe more, depends on how large families are, but I estimated about 4 per family. As a municipally operated golf course, Airedale's annual water usage accounted for just under 13,000 cubic meters per year. The average person in Canada uses on average 329 liters of water each and every day through cooking, showering, and other day-to-day tasks. That's 120,085 liters, or 120 cubic meters per year per person. 1 cubic meter is equivalent to 1,000 liters. Just keep that in mind. If this proposed development of 750 units proceeds and up to 4,000 people are relocated to this area, that will lead to an astronomical increase in water usage on that property to 480,340 cubic meters of water each year. That's a 37 times increase in water use on that property. 37 times. And people had made comments that were not educated on the golf course. Arrowdale did not use a whole lot of water. They did not water the greens or the lands in an excessive way. 37 times the increase of water usage for that property. I don't have any words. I really don't. And just the fact that that development on that property isn't even the entire property. It's 2/3. 2/3, 32 acres of 49. And they are using 37 times the water usage than that has been used there for the previous 100 years. The environmental impact of that is immeasurable. We don't even know the impact that will have on Brantford, on the Grand River, on our sewers. We have already seen flooding happening within the city when there are large amounts of rain. If you pave over that property the way that they want, the impact of that on not only the surrounding community, but the city as a whole is going to be devastating. Moving through to the archaeological assessment, I did not have the opportunity to actually read through the documents, so I do have a couple questions that I'm hoping to have answered with this as well. I want to know how many stages of the archaeological assessment have taken place on the 32-acre portion of the property. As you may know, 4 stages have been undertaken, not even 100 meters from the fence line of the proposed development. On the city retained portion of the land, arrowheads, bone fragments, pottery, and lithics, and many other artifacts proving historical indigenous settlements took place on the land you're proposing for development. What items have been found during the due diligence period prior to the finalization of the sale? Because we know that if they were found on one portion of the property, they are going to be on others. The other question I have is, has a record of site condition been submitted to the ministry? Because I did not find one. Has it been pursued? Is it being pursued? Why is it not being done before this rezoning application is even submitted? Because if that record of site condition comes back where it is not safe that people live on that property, where it is not safe that the ground is even being dug up, why are we even pursuing this at all? Why is an application even submitted? Is this being done properly? I want to know those answers. Or is this cart being put before the horse in order to, strong arm the citizens into compliance? That's the feeling that I'm getting with this, and it's a very uneasy feeling. I also want to know if Elite MD Developments is relying on any study results undergone and published by the city of Brantford from the city retained 17-acre portion of the property. Are they using any results that were done by the city? And are they using that to influence their plans for the other portion of the property? The historical significance of this property to the community is very well known. It was not known as widely before this all happened in 2019. We have done a lot of research because the people care. And the history behind this property is incredible. The things that have been dug up about this property it's significant to this city as a whole. The cultural significance of this property to this city needs to be protected. The property was used as a golf course. Since 1881 was the first documentation of this property being used by the community. We don't know the impact to the community or the usage from the community before that. That's pretty well as far as the research that we've been able to dig up to this point. But 1881, that's 138 years ago. That's a lot of history for Brantford. I also want to know, prior to the submission of this application, has members of the Ongwe community, Six Nations of the Grand River community, or Mississauga of New Credit, have they been consulted on this plan before it was even submitted to the city? And what were their comments on it? And I would like to know specifically who, if anyone, was consulted. Was it the Six Nations Band Council? Was it the Haudenosaunee Confederacy? Or was it the actual people that live and the members of Six Nations? I want to know who was consulted, if at all, because I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from elite themselves. We all know that there's a multi-billion-dollar land claim for the Haldeman tract, and it is active right now, and Arrowdale is included in that. So to steamroll this there's a level of disrespect there for the original stewards of this land. So I really want to know if they are being a part of this discussion. I also want to know why Elite MD Developments has made no valid effort to communicate with this community regarding the future of this land. Countless emails and communications over the last 2 years have gone ignored and unanswered. The petition with 7,871 signatures from community members advocating for the preservation of Airedale was sent to your office, Elite MD Developments, and went ignored and unanswered. Do you really feel that this is the best way to navigate one of the most controversial decisions the city has seen in decades? I can assure you it's not. But based on the behavior that we have seen this evening on that property by Elite MD Developments, I think we know the answer. Elite has 4 other proposed developments within the limits of this city. Do they feel the poor navigation and steamrolling of this one will have an impact on the other development success and the community's receptiveness for those other developments? The people do not forget, and the reputation your client has with this city simply by putting in an offer to develop this land, despite its unprecedented volume of opposition, will taint them for years to come. And the behavior that has happened this evening, while citizens concerned about this property are sitting here and it being ripped up today, I have no words, and I really don't. I'm sorry, but it's something that is bothering me significantly. I have a number of proposed solutions of which I hope you and your client consider very closely. Some are beneficial to both parties. Others are seen as a sign of good faith and bridge building. Ultimately, it is your choice of how the future of Airedale proceeds and the impact you will leave on this community near and far. The solutions I have are as follows. Renegotiate a land trade with the corporation of the city of Brantford to exchange this property for other vacant gray or brown fields within another area of the city amounting to the same equivalent value of $14 million. There are many areas that already house infrastructure to withstand 750 proposed units and would be far more cost effective and provide a higher profit return than this property given its natural 32-acre historical landscape. Donate the land in its entirety to the Friends of Airedale nonprofit organization, who have clearly shown their passion for preserving this land appropriately. Donate the land in its entirety to the Brant Land Trust for preservation for generations to come. Or, the best solution yet is to donate the land in its entirety back to the rightful stewards of this territory, the Ongwe community. And if you don't like any of those, you can at least scrap the 6 and 8 story developments along Elgin Street and dedicate that as a natural green space that it sits right now. And do not touch it. And just move forward with your 300 proposed units of singles and towns. That pill will be swallowed a little bit nicer than 750 and what's being proposed now. These proposed solutions minimize the impact on this community and provide an amicable benefit to both your client, the environment, and the future of this city. And I hope that there is an open line of communication better than what has happened so far. So thank you, everyone, for listening to my long-winded
No, that's okay.
comment.
Thank you for coming forward. You had a lot of points to cover.